Welcome back, everybody. Made her back to Wisconsin, and we're working here in Dad's shop here today. I brought the jugs from the 1525 home and the cylinder head, like we previously talked about, so we can maybe put that in the milling machine and do some work. We started by seeing if we could get the pistons pressed out of the jugs, and yeah, sure enough, they're coming without much effort at all. The first one here we're trying, so.
Getting easier.
Yeah.
I don't know how far they're going to go.
Yeah, the skirt is almost even with the bottom of the jug now, so there's quite a ways yet. We're probably going to run out of stroke before we...
Might be able to just tap it out.
Probably. Yeah, it wasn't really that stuck.
I can't believe that.
Yeah. This was probably a pretty good engine before it was left to sit or whatever. Yeah, we'll get this out and we'll show you what we found. Knock on wood, things are going really good here. We just got the third one out. It was hardly stuck at all. It actually started to slide by hand once we broke it free with very minimal press pressure. Got both of them out of that jug. We're just getting ready to set up, take the fourth one out, which probably will be the same, hardly stuck. Just for future reference, I don't know if it matters on this engine which way it was together, but the head of the bolt for the connecting rod wrist pin is towards the spark plug side of the jug. Like I said, I don't know if it matters on this engine for reassembly purposes, but just a future note there. It's too bad the tops of the cylinders are all so corroded. It might be good otherwise. Yeah, we'll get this one set up and we'll show you what we got. Okay, here comes number 4. We're going to turn the camera on this time to show you. Whoa! Holy shit. Yeah, that was the easiest one yet.
Holy crap.
I guess I should have been catching it. The other ones weren't quite that easy. Wow! It wasn't even hardly stuck.
I didn't even really put pressure on it.
Hopefully we didn't wreck nothing.
I didn't expect that.
Grab that out of there. Maybe not. It's just our pusher slug, which is the top of a
end of a cylinder.
Great big hydraulic cylinder. I'll show you that in a second.
Okay.
Oh, the piston's free there.
Piston's laying there.
I got it.
Wow. I bet they all didn't come like that.
Yeah.
Wow. That is amazing.
Look at that. Not bad. I got a feeling those will probably all clean up and be just fine. Yeah, here I was going to show you the little bit of the pressing process. I didn't even need a press. Could have whacked that one with a hammer and it came loose.
Yeah, that one just fell out.
Wow.
Unreal.
Yeah, I was going to
looks nice.
show you guys the press too. I don't think I've ever shown this before. Kind of goes back, if you're a regular watcher of the channel here, we were talking about tools recently and how you don't have to go buy all the expensive stuff. You can make a lot of what you need for little to nothing, and this press is a perfect example of that. The only thing on this that we bought was the actual 20-ton jack. Everything else on this was scrounged steel and things that, at best we bought for scrap price steel or whatever, but I guess we bought a four-way tire iron and cut that apart for our cross pins, but everything else was this was just a scrap piece of machinery, some scrap angle iron, some cut off big thick plates I got from a friend. It's nothing a guy can't build, and a handful of bolts. One of these days I'm gonna clean it up and give her a paint job so it looks a little more presentable, but for what we've done, that does the job. We actually built this when we were taking apart the 2035 engine, the 27, so it was probably, what, about 6 years ago or so we built this. We built it just for that project. We had a very, very stuck engine block compared to this project and needed a way to get it apart, so we have been talking about building the press. So that was a good excuse to finally do it. So yeah, there again just shows that a little bit of time and scrounging you can come up with some pretty decent tools without having to break the bank doing it. Okay, we're playing detective here. We think we may have found, well, we did find an issue, but we might have found potentially, shut the tractor down type of an issue. So the pistons have a, what would you call it, bushing, we're assuming should be pressed into the piston, and then the wrist pin pivots inside of that bushing, right? This one, this was number 2 cylinder. The bushing is loose in the piston, and the wrist pin is seized on that bushing. And that one, this piston has significantly more scoring on the sides than any of the other ones do. The other ones are what you would expect to see. This one is quite scored up. So whether or not that was maybe would shut the tractor down or something, because that definitely shouldn't be like that. And you can put it up on end, and you can hold that steady for me. There's a lot of play in there where that's been running loose. So yeah, that might be, it's nice to always try to find, what shut the tractor down type of thing, so a guy kind of knows, that could be it. Because all the other cylinders look really clean and nice. A lot of them, like that one, the rings aren't even stuck in that one, which is kind of impressive. It's a beautiful day here in Wisconsin, Christmas Eve day. We figured we'd come out to the woods and see what Dad's been up to. Check out these blocks. We've got a nice fire burning a brush pile back there, so you probably hear that crackling in the background. Oh, we're looking at these blocks. So these two came with the 2 tractors. These are from an auction in Minnesota a couple summers ago. So this is an actual Allis 1525 tractor block. It has half of the tag. Unfortunately, half of it is missing, but half of the Allis Chalmers tag. But this block is junk. Big hole missing there. There's a bunch of big old cracks on that side. So essentially that block is toast. I mean, anything can be fixed, of course, but you'd have to be pretty desperate on that one. But the cam looks pretty good. So we're hoping to save the cam out of that one, but it's currently stuck in there. So we were talking about how we're going to potentially get that out of there. Set it up in the press or something, see if we can press it out of there. This one is the same Midwest engine, but it's slightly different. We touched on this in a previous video. Dad was saying there's a few differences. So this is a truck block. Oh, if I can turn it up here. It's got a tag on it. Heavy duty tractor engine and all the specs on it. Oh, let's see if I can read them to you, since you probably can't see them on camera. It says model 402, serial 11581, special number S17180, size 4 1/8 by 5 1/4, Midwest cylinder, or Midwest engine rather. This is what a cylinder head is, the place that fixes these things. So that block essentially doesn't help us either, even though that appears to be a good block. It's not we don't see any breaks or cracks in it, but the castings are slightly different. So it doesn't have this hole here for the oil fill like the tractor has. This block doesn't have the provisions for that. And on the, turn it back down here, on this side it doesn't have, I can't hardly see the oil spot for the oil ports where this one does, where that main oil tube goes. It doesn't have any of the provisions for that. So making this block work, there's none of that stuff is there. Making this block work in a tractor would be quite difficult. And the ends of the cam too are different between the two. Let's look at the end of that cam versus the end of that cam is a lot smaller. This size here. And this one is a big one. So they're different. Same thing but different. So we'll probably start by trying to get the cam out of this block, because essentially this block doesn't do me any good and this cam is junk. It's all pitted and bad. So we'll experiment with getting the stuck cam out of this one, so if we do wreck something, we're not really out much, so to speak. You know, we're not going to try to wreck anything, but rather experiment on that than experiment on a good cam. And then this is all the other stuff that went along with it. So this is the tractor stuff, flywheel and rear engine plate and crankshaft. Crankshafts, as far as we can see from a visual inspection, look to be the same between the two. So I should have enough crankshafts to, I got some options here as far as which is the best. This plywood board is all of the truck engine stuff, and pretty much with the exception of the crank, none of this really does me any good, because this is the rear lower and rear upper bell housing. The truck application is completely different, and that's clutch, more clutch, flywheel, and another more clutch. It's basically the same style, Borg and Beck spring style clutch like is in the 612. If you've been watching the channel, we went through all that. You can go back and check that out. It's essentially the same thing but bigger, and that would be the front cover, but I'm not sure if that's the same or not. I guess we didn't compare that. I think that's different again though too. Yeah, depends. This part for sure is. This part may be the same as the tractor, so like I said, that might be useful. But all this clutch and bell housing stuff, that doesn't do me any good. So if there's anybody out there looking for a Midwest engine truck clutch and bell housing parts, hit me up, because I could potentially part with those parts if somebody else could use them. They don't really do me much good. So yeah, that's kind of what we know with that stuff. I'll see you guys later. Okay, so it's several days later. Gotta get you guys caught up. We got the truck block into town here, where we're got it set up in the press, trying to press the cam out of the block because it was very, very stuck. So we got it supported by a couple of thick plates on the bottom with enough gap to let the camshaft, can I look up in there? You probably can't see it anyway. Camshaft stick through the bottom. Basically it's stuck in the 3 bores. There, and up there. So like I said, we did this, at least a couple days ago. We set it up. We had it all soak in, and we pumped up the jack with as much pressure as we felt comfortable putting on there without risking, breaking something. And it wasn't moving anywhere. So we just let it soak, left it with pressure on it, and just left it for a couple days, kept back periodically soaking it down with penetrating oil, and just being patient, basically, going to work on other stuff while this sat. Well, this morning I came out and soaked it all down again and put some more pressure on it, and it made a little bit of a noise. Not a big pop, but I could hear just a little bit of like something gave. So I looked over everything. I don't think nothing broke, and sprayed it all down again, put a little bit more pressure on it, and sure enough, it's moving now. It has moved. Let's see if I can show you here, if I can get my light off. If I can shoot, you can see where that little bit of a lip. This is great cinematography here. Up inside here, that part was flush, and now it's sticking down. So we've moved. So now it's just a matter of, there again, being patient, getting things wiggling, and continue pressing the rest of the way out. I don't think we broke the block. I think it just moved. Because one thing we were a little bit concerned about is whether, like, say, this journal let loose first, or whichever one let loose first, and the other ones would be stuck, if that would put any excess pressure, like say on the center web, and potentially break the block. We didn't want that to happen. So if it hadn't come loose shortly here, our next plan of attack would be to make up some type of a blocking system between the webs, like say here and here, to block it up solid, and then put even more pressure on it, so we knew there would be minimal chance of breaking the block. Even though we don't plan on using this block. This is the truck block. This was kind of our test run, so to speak. So if we did break something, we wouldn't be out as much, so to speak. But now that it's kind of proof of concept here, we'll probably bring in the other good blocks and good cams and do the same process, and hopefully get them apart in the same way. Patience is key with these projects. Sometimes you just gotta let them soak and just leave some pressure on them and just walk away. That consistent pressure over time sometimes does it. It took a long time. A wise man once told me it took a long time for these to get stuck. Sometimes it takes a long time to get them unstuck. The one thing I did do was I kept spraying into the oil galley here, so you're getting oil right inside of that journals, and I bet you that is what helped a lot. I'll actually spray a little bit more in there now that I know it's moving here. So yeah, we'll see if we can get it out of there, and we'll show you. Okay, see, this is why you can't get in a hurry now. So I thought I could keep pressing, but this journal is going to interfere with that roller lifter if I go any farther. I'm just about to it. And then, come on, focus. Same story. Some of the cams will start hitting some of the lifters. So we're going to have to figure out a way to drive those roller lifter assemblies out of the block before we go any further with the cam. It just won't come out until we do that. We were hoping we'd be able to, be able to slip by, but I can see that isn't going to work. Most of these we could probably rotate the cam and be fine, but down here that journal is bigger, so yeah, we gotta figure that out next. So those come out the top of the block. This is all part of that same lifter roller assembly casting. Ta-da! Ended up getting it out of there. We don't think we broke anything. This one, the lobes are really bad anyway. It would take some
A lot of welding up here.
welding and remachining to make this cam even usable, but you never know.
The gear looks good though.
The gear looks okay.
Clean that up if you need it. Yeah.
Wonder how that. So this
It's
must.
supposed to be keyed on there. It's supposed to be a key.
This
according
whole
to,
thing is one.
yeah, it's supposed to be. Whoops. According to the manual.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a key right there.
Sure.
So that could be pressed off then.
So now we can figure out a way to press those roller lifter assemblies out of the block now too, instead of just beating on them. Keep going.
Something to catch it on there.
There's a board under there, yeah. There. Pull that driver out of there. What are we caught on?
We gotta press it.
Oh, we might have to go through the bottom, yeah.
Couldn't make them. Kind of
Yeah.
line it up.
Anyway, that's our driver setup for pressing these lifter rollers out. Well, we succeeded in getting all the lifter assemblies out of the block pretty successfully. We had a couple of small castings in the block cracked on us. Luckily, this is our experiment block, and we came up with a little bit better system, so hopefully the good block we won't do the same thing. I'm not sure which one it was at this point, but there's a couple of these outer webs split on us in the process of getting them out. But they're out. And we just got done getting the little screws that go in the top of the block here out. That's what locates those roller lifter assemblies to keep them from rotating in the block. They have a little notch where they go around that head of that screw. So basically this block is broken down as much as we're going to break it down. I just took out what's left of the dipstick fitting here. So yeah, I think we'll probably bring this one back to the woods for storage for now, and we'll bring in one of the other blocks and try to do the same process all over again and hopefully not break anything on that one.